Development agencies announce water supply in Miri restored in stages and ADIBAH NOOR laid to rest. Those are the headlines for tonight. Good evening, everyone. You're with me, Thomas Elliott, and this is TVS Nightline. We begin with our top story. Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg on Sunday announced 2 more development agencies for Sarawak, this time focusing on the central region of Sarawak with the establishment of Rajang Delta Development Agency and Betong Development Agency. Abang Johari said that the establishment of the development agencies were due to the success of the other development agencies which helped coordinate development in the grassroots area, which proved to be popular.
There are requests for us to establish in other rural area. That's why kita bangunkan di Greater Kuching, is a bit rural, and also Betong and the Rajang Delta. You have Upper Rajang, now you have Rajang Delta. For them to coordinate all the development that is seen to be effective on the ground.
Abang Johari said this during a press conference after winding up the 15th Parti Pusaka Bumiputra PBB Triennial General Meeting at Borneo Convention Centre, Kuching, BCCK on Sunday. He said the Rajang Delta Development Agency will be chaired by Deputy Minister for Natural Resources and Urban Development, Dato' Len Talib Saleh, while Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Douglas Ugah Umbas will draw up the boundaries for the Betong Development Agency, adding that 1.5 billion ringgit will be allocated to each of the development agencies to expedite the overall development. The Rajang Delta Development Agency and Betong Development Agency will complement the existing 6 development agencies, namely the Upper Rajang Development Agency, Highland Development Agency, Northern Region Development Agency, Integrated Regional Samarahan Development Agency, Sri Aman Development Agency, and the recently announced Greater Kuching Coordinated Development Agency. In his winding-up speech at Parti Pusaka Bumiputra Bersatu PBB Triennial General Meeting on Sunday, its President Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg said Sarawak's renewable and green energy policy is bearing fruits, as more foreign investors are showing their interest in Sarawak's hydrogen economy. The Premier of Sarawak remarked that recently, South Korea conveyed its interest in purchasing 100 tons of hydrogen by 2025 and 2026.
20, 25 dan 26 kita akan mengeluar 100,000 tan hydrogen. 100,000 tan hydrogen. Hidrogen itu akan dibeli oleh orang Korea. Yang beli balik. Kita taxkannya, sales tax.
Earlier, Office of the Premier of Sarawak in a statement said that Sarawak is in talks with South Korean and Japanese conglomerates to invest in the hydrogen-producing facility in Bintulu. In line with its aspiration in becoming a high-income developed state by 2030, Sarawak is now a pioneer in the hydrogen economy and aims to be the main producer of hydrogen in the region. Popular singer and actress ADIBAH Noor Muhammad Omar was laid to rest at Taman Keramat Permai Muslim Cemetery at noon today. The burial ceremony was attended by her family and more than 100 close friends and other Malaysian celebrities, which include Dato' Aflin Shauki, Dato' Hans Isaac, Dato' Linda On, and Ziana Zain. The final rites were conducted at the Al-Ansar Mosque in Taman Keramat at 9:30 a.m. A somber atmosphere greeted the arrival of ADIBAH's remains at the cemetery, and those present could not hold back their tears.
Saya buat rehearsal di Stadium Bukit Jalil, soundcheck last year, I think, sebab masa COVID susah nak keluar. Masa saya rehearsal kan, asyik because she was very quiet kan. Saya tak tahu kenapa. Lepas tu saya Tanya Aflina, she's alright. Semua cakap she's alright. Tak ada orang yang tahu sebenarnya. Saya pun tak tahu apa-apa yang dalam hidup beliau tentang personal life beliau. Baru semalam saya tahu. Dan satu berita saya terkejut bagi kami semua.
ADIBAH briefed her loss at Glen Eagles Hospital at 7:45 p.m. last night due to stage 4 ovarian cancer. Prior to her passing, ADIBAH recently appeared to have lost a lot of weight at an event last week and stated that she has been dieting since Ramadan. Meanwhile, in Istana Negara Post, Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria conveyed their condolences to the family and described her passing as a great loss to the country's art scene.
She's a good friend, Oh, dia sangat baik, Masya Allah. Tuhan dia tahu betapa baiknya di mana. Sangat pemurah. Sebab tu rezeki tak pernah berhenti. Di mana baik sangat. Masya Allah. Tuhan sayangkan dia.
Also extending his condolences was Prime Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who described ADIBAH as a talented singer, actress and host. Leaders of Parti Pusaka Bumiputra Bersatu PBB are urged to be more vocal, not only when announcing policies or new initiatives by the government, but also when defending their rights, especially those from the rural areas. Rural folks, Dato Abdullah Saidul said, have contributed immensely to a developed Sarawak by 2030.
Di kawasan pedalaman, saya rasa mana-mana pemimpin PBB yang mewakili masyarakat luar bandar haruslah lebih lantang dan harus lebih berani dan harus lebih bersungguh dalam menyuarakan keadaan mereka di pedalaman, kerana semua ini dilakukan dengan niat untuk merapatkan jurang keselesaan antara kawasan bandar dan desa.
Saidul spoke with the press during the PBB Triennial General Meeting today, held at the Borneo Convention Centre, Kuching, BCCK. He was elected as the new PBB Supreme Council member for Bumiputra Wing, receiving a total of 836 votes.
Saya menghargai semua sokongan mereka, terutama sekali sahabat-sahabat PBB daripada cawangan belah Pesaka. Saya difahamkan saya mendapat undi yang banyak dari sebelah Pesaka, terutama sekali kawasan cawangan-cawangan PBB yang wakil rakyat mereka bukan wakil rakyat PBB. Saya rasa antara perkara yang mereka bangkitkan kepada saya ialah supaya pemimpin-pemimpin PBB supaya sentiasa menziarahi mereka di kawasan cawangan PBB yang bukan diwakili oleh wakil rakyat PBB, kerana mereka juga kedudukan mereka juga penting dalam struktur besar, keluarga besar PBB.
Residents in Miri can finally breathe a sigh of relief as water disruption caused by a leaked pipe on Thursday finally resumed in stages on Sunday. In a Facebook statement, State Transport Minister and Senadin Assemblyman Dato Sri Lee Kim Shin said repair work by the Northern Region Water Board, or LAKU, was completed at around 3 a.m. on Sunday, following which a leak test and water flushing system was conducted. As of evening today, water supply in several affected parts in Miri was reported to have been resumed. In a statement, LAKU said it will continue to monitor until the whole pipeline network system is fully in service, adding that some consumers may experience colored water and low water pressure as water pressure takes time to build up. Additionally, water tankers and water collection centers are still in operation to supply clean water for consumers. Meanwhile, back in Kuching, a suspected explosion is believed to be responsible for damaging the shutters of 4 premises at a commercial center in Sejingkat early on Sunday morning. According to Sarawak Fire and Rescue Department, or BOMBA spokesperson, a distress call was received at around 6:48 a.m., informing them of smoke billowing out of the building. Upon arrival, however, a team from the Tawan Jaya Fire Station discovered that there was no fire, but the damaged shutters, which were ripped open. The affected shops include 3 food and beverage shops and a clothing store. Investigation is currently being carried out to determine the cause of the explosion. Thankfully, no injuries were reported from the incident. And after 2 years of hiatus, the Rainforest World Music Festival returns to the stage this year to an overwhelming fanfare. The rainy weather does not deter visitors from coming in droves to the festival. And as it draws its curtain for the 25th edition this year, we have on location Daryl for the update. Take it away, Daryl.
Hello Douglas, and greetings from the Rainforest Festival. As physical performances are now allowed this year, we get to see performance from international and also local performers in both physical and also live stream performance. Here today, as we enter the third day, the last day of the festival that celebrates the diversity and also diverse culture, we are able to see performance from Singapore, India, South Korea, Finland, Thailand. It is such an amazing night here. We get to see 1,000 strong the area here at the Culture Village, enjoying themselves, immersing, embracing other culture through music. It's a fun thing to see here, and it's a rare sight for us here in Sarawak. After 2 years, the festival was held and was conducted through online streaming, as we know, but as we are now back, it brings back a whole new ambience and atmosphere. Everyone seems to enjoy themselves and counted numbers of performers. As I was told that the performers ranked roughly around 15 of them tonight, and it shows that music really brings everyone together. We get to see all walks of life here, various races from all over the world. On the daytime, we get to see workshops, and on the night, we get to enjoy the music performed by various performers from all over the world. Now that's all for me. Here at the Rainforest, last day. Thank you, Douglas. Hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you so much for the update, Daryl. And coming up after the break, vehicle age limit implementation needs to be scrutinized, and Minister optimistic in positive economic growth in the second and third quarter of this year. Right here on TVS Nightline. Stay tuned. You're watching TVS Nightline. While students in urban areas have access and exposure to STEM, many of their peers in rural areas do not have the same advantage. To bridge the gap, Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation SDEC, in collaboration with the Learning Curve, is committed to bring science, technology, engineering and mathematics or STEM education to rural schools, especially in areas outside Kuching, Miri and Bintulu. SDEC Head of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Hazwan Razak, said the outreach program received an encouraging response and he hopes that it will be able to spark interest among students in STEM education.
So this program itself, targeting students of all ages, is one of those programs. And we're actually, on behalf of SDEC and the organizers, we're actually very honored that to see so much participation today and the weeks before, right? Because we've spent time in your communities with the Science on Wheel truck, and we've seen the interest and the passion from the students, from the teachers, as well as from the parents, because this is one of those rare things that we have here in Sarawak.
Meanwhile, the founder of the Learning Curve, Kenneth Chai, said that one of the objectives of the STEM-based outreach program is to expose students to technology-based learning materials.
Our main objective here is to expose, for Science on Wheel, is to expose the same level of STEM opportunities, infrastructure, and teaching materials and learning materials to schools that are away from the urban area, beyond Kuching, beyond Bintulu, beyond Miri, actually. So a lot of our students, when we go for different communities, we ask them, how many of you here have done coding before? Almost zero every time. None of them have even know how to use a mouse. Most of them, they don't even know how to use the trackpad. So these are the schools that we are worried the most. The gap, I think just now Dr. Raymond already told us, there's a widening gap right now, especially in Sarawak, between the urban and the rural and suburban. So this is what we're trying to do. We go to this area, we find out what kind of infrastructure is lacking, and then we provide this infrastructure, and then we provide instructions for the instructor, and finally, Minggu Science like this, events like this are incentives for them to showcase what they have learned, what they have experimented on.
The proposal to resolve the road congestion issue, such as imposing a 10-year age limit on vehicles, needs to be scrutinized, as it is a complex matter that requires understanding and research. Transport Minister Dr. Wee Ka Siong said to implement the proposal, the country should provide a complete public transport network system, noting that Malaysia is still in the process to complete its public transportation network through various projects.
He said the ministry welcomed any views, but there are many aspects to study and more than one solution to tackle the issue. Wee was commenting on a suggestion from researchers from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, or UKM, recently that proposed that vehicles more than 10 years old should be disposed of to resolve the road congestion issues in the city as practiced in other countries. Currently, there are over 34 million vehicles registered in Malaysia, but only 2/3 of 22 million registrations are still active. This is due to some car owners keeping the registration number of their old vehicles, even though the car may not be used anymore. Therefore, we said the matter must be looked at holistically and comprehensively.
Johor recorded over 6,900 cases of the hand, foot and mouth disease HFMD from the beginning of the year until June 18, compared to the number of infections in the same period last year, which recorded only 104. Johor's authorities have expressed a growing concern on ways to control the spread of the disease. According to Johor's State Health and Unity Committee Chairman Ling Tian Soon, most cases involve children aged 6 and below, with 6,048 cases representing 86.6% of the population. About 11.7% or 816 children 7 to 12 years old were infected by HFMD, while the remainder affects those aged 13 and above. Ling disclosed that there are 5 active HFMD outbreaks in Johor, involving the Kota Tinggi district, Johor Bahru and Batu Pahat. While 100 HFMD outbreaks in Johor were detected at nurseries, private homes, kindergartens, preschools, primary schools, daycare centers, and others. Even so, he assured that the situation is under control. The Johor Health Department is always in a state of readiness to face the risk of the entry of monkeypox to Malaysia by the Ministry of Health based on the recommendations from the World Health Organization, WHO. Malaysia's economic growth is expected to increase further in the second and third quarter of this year, driven by the government's continued efforts to attract foreign investments, as well as the success of COVID-19 vaccination program. Senior Minister of International Trade and Industry, Dr. Sri Muhammad Azman Ali, said the 5% economic growth recorded in the first quarter of this year is an indication that the country's economic performance will continue to improve. He said the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, together with the Malaysian Investment Development Authority and the Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, will continue to attract investments that will create quality employment opportunities for Malaysians. Muhammad Azmin said the government will also continue to ensure that investors remain confident in the country's business environment and ecosystem. He added that the country's economy is on the right track to recover from the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, emphasizing that the government needs some time to ensure all recovery programs are running smoothly. Welcome back. Long queues stretching for kilometers of exhausted drivers who have been waiting for hours for petrol have become a common sight in Sri Lanka as it deals with the worst economic crisis in 7 decades. The continuing suffering of Sri Lankans have prompted think tank chief operating officers to set meetings with the International Monetary Fund or IMF to provide access to financing options, though it won't immediately solve the social unrest.
IMF program will provide access for other financing options. That would be the main way that we will get the help. But IMF had already said that they are mainly considering the debt restructuring process to provide the assistance. So the talks will be starting next week, but in my view, it will be slightly a slow process for us to get IMF money.
Delegates from IMF is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka on Monday, June 20th. Due to the lack of fuel and soaring prices, many have been in line since Friday, June 17th to acquire petrol.
අතේ ඉඳලා ඉන්නවා දැන් අද උදේ දැන් එනවා කියලා කියනවා තාමත් නැහැ මේ දවසක් මේ කියන්නේ අපි සෑහෙන අමාරුවෙක් මේක කරන්නේ හම්බ කරගන්න විදියකුත් නැහැ ගෙදර යන්න විදියකුත් නැහැ නිදා ගන්න විදියකුත් නැහැ දැන් තෙල් ගත්තම තෙල් අරගෙන ඉවරලත් ආයි රස්සා කරන්නත් බෑ නිදා ගන්න යන්නේ
කලින් අපි ආල් මිටි මෙතන 100 150 ඕම තියලා විකුණගෙන ගියේ එම ජාතිම්ම මිටි 50යි 25යි 75යි ඕම විකුණලා ඉවරයි දැන් මිටි එකක් හරි විකුණ ගන්න බෑ රටබඩුත් විකුණ ගන්න බෑ මිල වැඩිින්දා දැන් ලංකාවට පාලන මිල දාපින්දා මිනිස්සු මේ කොළඹට බඩු එවන්නෙත් නෑ මෝල් කට්ටියට ඒ ගාන්ට දීලා මේ පිරිමාණ්ඩත් බැරිලු ඒ හින්දා ලංකාවට එන්නේ නෑ.
According to an official statement by Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, as many as 5 million Sri Lankans could be directly impacted by food shortages in the coming months. The United Nations has outlined a plan to raise $47 million to provide assistance to 1.7 million Sri Lankans worst hit by the crisis over the next 4 months.
Several shoppers fled a mall in McLean, Virginia on Saturday after hearing what appeared to be gunshots inside the shopping center. The shooting happened on a second-floor walkway, and investigators have found evidence consistent with gunfire and shell casings. According to police reports, 3 people were taken to local hospitals with injuries while fleeing, but no one was injured from the gunfire.
Eyewitness video showed the moment buyers ran down the stairs and exited through the emergency door at Tyson's Corner Mall. Officers cleared the mall to make sure no suspects were present and helped those who had sheltered in a hidden place. The mall remained closed for the remainder of the day and won't reopen until further notice. According to tweets from the Fairfax County Police, a fight broke between a small group and a person discharged a weapon, adding that there were no reports of active shooters nor injured people. Officials did not announce any immediate arrests, but Police Chief Kevin Davis said at a news conference that he had expected to be sharing information with the public soon about those involved. Some officers were already at the mall when reports of gunfire started coming in, and other officers who were on the road were dispatched to the mall. The officers rushing in as people fled the mall tried to determine whether anyone was injured and if there were any suspects or victims.
Is there such a thing as too much tuition? And how can you determine when your child is going to need extra help from a tutor? And with the recent abolishment of the PT3 examination for a more school-based assessment, is tuition really necessary? On Sejahtera Asia tomorrow, hosts Wan Alif and Alexson will be speaking to founder and director of Terbilang Tuition Center, Dr. Ishak Johari, at 7:30 a.m. only on TVS Astro Channel 122 and My Free View. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. Just a click away by heading onto our website TVSTVMY or follow us on our social media. And that's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Doug Salit. Thank you and have a good week ahead.